Welcome to the It Factor. We're Jimmy and Nye, exploring a new blog post by Mr. Len Kaplan, CEO of CDML and MSP in Queens, NY, offering network management, VoIP and UCAS, cybersecurity compliance, IaaS, cloud, and Microsoft 365 and Azure solutions. If you're a small business owner or manage IT for a growing organization, this deep dive is for you.
That's right. And today we're looking at something pretty serious, a real wake-up call detailed in that post.
Okay.
It's about how AI, artificial intelligence, is now actively being used to build malware. And that really shifts the cybersecurity landscape, especially if you're running a small business.
Right. This isn't just theory anymore, is it? The blog post actually cites a concrete example, something discovered by Deep Instinct's own AI assistant, DIANNA.
Exactly. It's kind of AI finding malware that was likely built by another AI. Pretty meta.
Wow. So what did DIANNA find?
Well, it was analyzing this malware sample, a piece of malicious code.
Yeah.
And this thing was heavily obfuscated, meaning its real purpose was deliberately hidden, made hard to figure out.
Okay, complex.
And modular, too, so it could potentially be adapted or changed easily. The source gives it a name. It's bypass our direct sys shell code loader.
Okay, quite a mouthful. But the key thing here, according to the post, is where it likely came from.
That's the kicker. It wasn't just complex code. The suspicion is that it was actually generated using readily available generative AI tools, things like, ChatGPT or maybe DeepSeek.
So readily accessible tools, potentially creating advanced malware.
Precisely. And this wasn't some sort of clumsy first try. The source makes it clear this malware was custom built. It was designed specifically to be stealthy, to slip past the usual defenses and deliver its harmful payload without raising alarms.
Did it work?
It did. The source confirms it worked.
Okay, let's dig into that. If AI built this, why is that such a big deal? Why is it a turning point?
Well, this is where it gets quite concerning, honestly. If generative AI can create sophisticated malware like this, it dramatically lowers the barrier for attackers. You don't necessarily need to be some elite programmer anymore to craft really complex cyber threats. Someone with, say, moderate technical skills could potentially prompt an AI to generate some seriously dangerous code.
It's like democratizing malware creation in a bad way.
That's a good way to put it. And the level of technical sophistication the AI can produce is, frankly, alarming. The blog post points out this specific malware was, as I said, heavily obfuscated. Think of it like writing code in riddles.
To hide what it's really doing.
Exactly. And it also used some advanced techniques to bypass the normal ways security software watches the operating system. Things like direct system calls and ETW bypasses.
So instead of knocking on the front door where the security guard is, it's finding it like a secret tunnel.
That's a perfect analogy. It avoids the common spots where security tools are looking. Plus, because generative AI can create variations easily or build things in modules, these threats become much harder for older security systems to catch. The ones that just look for an exact match, like a known fingerprint. This AI-generated stuff can potentially change its fingerprint.
Making it adaptable, harder to pin down with traditional signatures. That sounds like a major advantage for the attackers.
It absolutely is. We're talking about the automation of creating sophisticated malware, and AI is supercharging it. This could mean attacks become more frequent, more complex, and definitely harder to stop with outdated security.
Now, the blog post specifically calls out small businesses. Why are they considered particularly vulnerable to these next-gen threats?
That's a really critical point for anyone listening who runs or manages IT for a small business. You're often a target not because you have, state secrets, but because attackers perceive you as having weaker defenses, easier pickings.
Makes sense.
And the source highlights several common vulnerabilities. Limited IT staff is a big one. You might not have a dedicated cybersecurity expert who's constantly watching for these newer, subtler threats.
Right, your IT person is probably juggling a million things already.
Precisely. Then there's the issue of unpatched systems. Small businesses sometimes fall behind on software updates. That leaves known vulnerabilities open, which attackers can exploit even before needing these fancy AI-generated evasion tricks.
So old holes meet new, smarter threats. Not a good combo.
Definitely not. The post also mentions flat networks. If your network isn't segmented properly, one infected computer can potentially allow the malware to spread really quickly through the whole business. And finally, relying on just minimal endpoint protection,
Wow.
using basic antivirus, the kind that mainly relies on those signatures we mentioned, it's just not going to cut it against malware designed to constantly change and evade that exact detection method.
Okay, that paints a challenging picture. But the blog post doesn't just leave us there, right? It offers some practical steps. What can small businesses actually do right now?
Yes, and this is the important part. It's not all doom and gloom, and you don't need a huge budget to start making improvements. First, the post recommends adopting AI-enhanced endpoint protection.
Okay, fighting AI with AI.
Sort of, yeah. Look for security solutions that use behavior-based detection. Instead of just looking at what a file looks like, its signature, they watch what it does, its actions.
So even if the AI malware disguises itself, its malicious actions can still give it away.
That's the idea. Second, implement a layered defense strategy. Think multiple locks on your doors and windows, not just one.
Like what?
Firewalls, DNS filtering to block malicious websites, maybe application control to limit what software can run, and definitely strong email protection. They all work together.
Creating more hurdles for anything trying to get in makes sense.
Exactly. Third, and this is fundamental, keep everything updated. Make patching your operating systems and all your software a regularly consistent priority. Close those known security gaps.
Basic, but crucial. And what about the people involved?
Absolutely vital. The source stresses employee training. Your staff can be your first line of defense, or unfortunately, the easiest way in through things like phishing emails. You need to build a culture of cybersecurity awareness.
Teaching everyone to spot the digital dangers.
You got it. And finally, have an incident response plan. Know before something happens what steps you'll take if you do get hit. How do you contain the damage? Who do you need to tell? How do you recover quickly?
Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Okay, so bringing this all together from the blog post, what's the big picture here?
The big picture, really solidified by findings like DIANNA discovering that bypass her direct Syscall shellcode loader, is that cybercriminals are definitely actively harnessing AI. They're making their attacks smarter, stealthier, and more targeted.
And this isn't some distant future threat.
No, it's happening now, and small businesses are absolutely in the crosshairs. This is the evolving reality of cybercrime.
So preparation isn't just advisable, it's pretty much essential for survival.
Couldn't agree more. And it's worth noting, the source of this blog post, CDML, they actually offer services specifically designed to help businesses deal with these kinds of threats. Advanced endpoint protection, employee training, incident response planning, the very things we've been talking about.
It really highlights how quickly things are changing. AI isn't just a tool for the good guys anymore.
It really isn't, and that leads to a sort of provocative thought based on this material. DIANNA's discovery, this AI finding AI-generated malware, it's probably just an early glimpse of the future, right? An AI versus AI arms race in cybersecurity. So the question becomes, what will the next version of AI-generated threats look like? Even sneakier, more adaptive. And maybe, more importantly for everyone listening, how fast will you need to adapt your defenses to stay ahead? Something definitely worth thinking about for your business.
Until next time.